Suppose a kid from the last dungeon Boonies moved to a starter town who's one of the weakest amongst a powerful lineage of heroes. What would happen if they were to walk around mere mortals? That essentially is Lloyd Belladonna. He's your Goku, Superman, or any of the mighty fish out of water themes, but actually quite entertaining and different. Let me tell you why. So I mentioned Goku or Superman, but either will do. You have a character who back home is normal, if not weaker than average. Initially, they might not measure up to their god-level family or people. However, after being dropped into a new world, they soon realize how unbelievably powerful they are in comparison. Very common story so far. Where Lloyd is different stands from the fact he believes he is weak. He may be, when compared to his family. Not so much for the rest of 99% of the world though. He needs a reference point of how amazing he is. His innocence quickly becomes a familiar but likable character trait. For example, he's ashamed that it takes 6 days to run across an entire country, because it would take his grandfather too. But the hidden and secretive nature of his village didn't give him the perspective of the outside world. That's where you'll find the heart and comedy of the show. Lloyd thinks he's worthless, despite all his heroic deeds and achievements. Lloyd is an average kid in his hometown that happens to possess some of the world's most powerful warriors. Of course, when compared to normal humans, he's practically a demigod, who just happens to be continually overshadowed by more successful family members. It forces him to diminish his achievements and how he views himself. This is why I mentioned characters like Goku, for instance. A weak character compared to his people's standards. He had a low power level for a warrior and was sent to conquer a backwater planet called Earth. Someone as weak as him should have been able to do that. And of course, it was quickly apparent that he was one of the strongest in his new environment. Add some personality-changing head trauma, several masters, and more trauma that you can shake a stick at, Goku then surpasses the limitations set upon him by birth. While Goku had to gain physical strength, Lloyd needs to grow psychologically. Lloyd's story seems like the inverse of My Hero Academia's Anti-Bakugo, a powerful character who grew up praised for his unique power, building his self-esteem and image, only to be dropped in an environment where he is not the de facto strongest. The people surrounding him, including his childhood friend, are catching up, if not surpassing him. Now he has to reel back his ego and understand himself more. Lloyd Belladonna needs to go in the opposite direction. Lloyd's self-doubt drives his story and creates opportunities to see him develop. We will watch him build more confidence as he finds his place in the world. What drives a character like Lloyd, unlike Bakugo, is his humility. He wants to get by and be of service as best as he can. That's all he ever could do as the weakling back home. So he aims to be a soldier to become something more and to follow his brother's footsteps into the world. Of course, there are demon lords and monsters to defeat, but the real conflict for Lloyd is his lack of confidence and low self-esteem. He continually does wonders, but downplays them as mere coincidence. He doesn't even realize he should be incapable of these accomplishments and still succeeds because of how powerful he is. It's different than the idiot hero, who is actually dumb but very confident in their abilities. He lacks perspective and should be able to look back and appreciate his abilities and traits. He's innocent. Lloyd is as or more powerful than most of the characters in the story. What makes Lloyd not just super overpowered is that he still doesn't understand the world and subtle meanings of things. He's a literal child who believes in black and white, good and evil, and the best of people. Through his emotions and the outlook of the world, it will force change in the story and the characters around him. Being naive makes you want to root for Lloyd even though he is unfathomably strong. A good chunk of comedy comes from anyone who has the ability to see his hidden strength, realizing that he's not just a weak kid, but a god with the appearance of a scrawny little kid with a lack of confidence. He's a tiger in a paper cage. God help us all if he realizes it. With all that being said, there's nothing new under the sun, but we all love a good remix. This story involves an overpowered character dropped in a world where he stands out. Another avenue for the classic fish out of water story, or better yet, a giant fish in a small pond. But what makes it endearing is seeing a character with a very recognizable trait, something that you or I may have. Low self-esteem, who also has a sweet personality. So, suppose a kid from the last dungeon Boonies moves to a starter town. That'd make for one hell of a story.